Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing about characterization techniques. This is the second half of your fourth module. So what is characterization? Basically, characterization deals with amplification of an object. Basically, it is dealing with material science where a particular component is analyzed by using various characterization techniques. So when used in material science, refers to the broad and general process by which materials structure and properties are probed and measured. It is fundamental process in the field of material science without which no scientific understanding of engineering materials is ascertained. There are many characterization techniques. In the series of videos, we will be discussing them one by one. First one is optical microscope. You people are aware of optical microscope where it is used for metallurgical applications, biological applications and general applications also. First one, optical microscope we will discuss. The schematics in front of you in this video shows the optical microscope where two kinds of phenomenon are occurring here. That is, first one is transmitted light optical microscope, and the second one is reflected light optical microscope. First we'll discuss about first one. Basically, first kind of microscope is generally used for uh, the specimens where light can be transmitted through them. So here two kinds of lenses are there. One is objective lens and another one situated at the eye where we'll be seeing, that is eyepiece. So two lenses are there, each having its own kind of magnification. So these two are basically important lenses, and in certain cases we will be using another set of lens, that is uh, condensing lens. Basically, condensing lens is used to transfer or condense the light from the source towards the specimen where the light can be condensed and transmitted through the specimen, so that the enlarged view or the light passing through the specimen can be clearly seen by the eyepiece. So eyepiece has a certain amount of magnification, uh, and the objective lens, that is focusing lens, is also having a certain amount of magnification. So combination of these two magnifications will give you combined effect of magnification. So basically, in a transmitted light optical microscope, the light is transmitted through the light source from below of the microscope where it is accommodated. The light is transferred through the object and then passed through focusing lens and then eyepiece and then to the eye, so that a magnified image can be generated inside the eye. Second one is reflected light optical microscope. So in the B part you can see here where the opaque sample, uh, which is to be analyzed, which is to be amplified, is is uh, is used in reflected light optical microscope. Here we have a half mirror mechanism. A prism is used where the light can be diverted at a particular angle. Half mirror mechanism is used to split the light coming from the light source towards the opaque sample as well as the eyepiece. The working mechanism is very simple. Light is emitted from the light source through the polarized lens, which can be seen here. A half mirror transfers the light transferred or generated from light source towards the Nomarsky prism, where the light is diverted at a particular angle towards the condensing lens, where the light is condensed and transferred to the opaque sample. This opaque at a particular area, the concentration of the light will be at a particular area. When this light is reflected back, it again passes through a half mirror. In this case, the light doesn't reflect back to its light source. Instead of that, it is transferred to the eyepiece or a camera, where an amplified image will appear. So this is basic mechanism of two kinds of microscopes, where limited amount of magnification can be done, and the magnified objects can be seen clearly by our naked eyes. What are its applications? Basically, it is used for crystal morphology and symmetry. Morphology in the sense of crystal fragments, how shape of a particular crystal is there, how it is formed. Classify isotropic and anisotropic substances. Isotropic is known to you. Where we can have an example of glass and metals, where the properties are uniform throughout. Anisotropic materials properties such as Young's modulus changes with the direction along with the object. Common examples of anisotropic materials are wood and composites. So here in anisotropic components, each and every direction the properties will be different. So next, in the crystal morphology, check possibility of symmetry, parallel extension between two components. Next application is phase identification, purity and homogeneity. Here, in what phase does a particular component lies, or whether it is a mixture of phases, that is crystalline or else an amorphous phase. We have discussed crystalline as well as amorphous in material science itself. Apart from that, standard optical data, refractive indices, optical axis for comparison. So what is refractive index? Refractive index or index of reflection of a material is a dimensional number that describes how fast light travels through the material. Okay. Next, we can also identify whether it is single crystal or a twinned crystal. Crystal defects can also be determined by using optical microscope, where we can find grain boundaries and dislocations, defects in a particular component, defects like point defect, line defect. We had already discussed these things in material science. Chemical etching may preferably occur at stress sites. This can also be determined by optical microscopy. And lastly, refractive index determination. Limitations of optical microscopy. Resolution limit of optical microscope. This is very important. We cannot go beyond a certain amount of resolution. If we go beyond certain amount of resolution, the clarity of an image goes on distorting. First limitation in resolution is very high magnification. Objects may get distorted, just now we had discussed. Fuzzy disks that are surrounded by diffraction rings. First we'll know what are diffraction rings. This is the phenomenon exhibited by wave fronts that passing the edge of an opaque body are modulated, thereby causing a distribution of energy within the front. So basically, when passing just beyond the light is passing just beyond the opaque object, it falls on a surface, and and generates a particular image which can be seen here. A light is seen. Beyond that light, certain other rings are also visualized. So these are referred as diffraction rings. Diffraction rings limit the ability of optical microscope to resolve fine details of the sample. Whenever intricate components are there, where fine details of each and every object are to be analyzed, the optical microscopy fails because it cannot go beyond certain limit. The resolution power of an optical microscope depends on light wavelength. We already know what is wavelength, and the numerical aperture of an objective lens. Objective lens we had discussed in the optical microscope itself. First lens through which the light passes, the image passes, is objective lens. And whenever we want to discuss about numerical aperture, we can see another diagram here itself. This theta determines the numerical aperture. This is basically an angle where the ability of a lens to absorb light emitted from a smaller area. Okay, next limitation is low magnification. This we had already discussed. Maximum magnification typically ranges from 500x to 1500x. So this 500x as well as 1500x is dependent on both the lenses, that is objective lens as well as the eyepiece. Poor surface view, because we cannot see the intricate parts clearly because of lower magnification. The surface view is also lower. Okay, next, second kind of technique which is very important is referred as a scanning electron microscope. This scanning electron microscope generates a particular image which is generated by the movement of electrons or the detection of electrons. This is not actual image this is not an actual image which can be seen by our naked eyes. Generally what happens is, whenever this microscope generates an image, which will be generation based on the detection of electrons. So this is one of the most versatile instruments available for examination and analysis of the microstructure, morphology and chemical composition, as well as characterizations. So it uses basically electron beam, which is referred as a primary electron. Here I can see a setup of scanning electron microscopy. Here we have electron gun, basically combination of anode as well as cathode. This anode is passed with high amount of power in the form of volts, which creates an energy barrier between anode as well as cathode, generating the electrons. These electrons are referred as primary electrons, passing through the passing beside the anode, and are passing through the condenser lens. Basically, condenser lens is a set of coils which will divert the electrons coming through the electron guns at a particular angle, so that those primary electrons can reach the objective lens. When electrons reach objective lens, this objective lens diverts the electrons, primary electrons, towards the surface of the sample at a particular area. The working mechanism is completely different in comparison with optical microscope. Here, three kinds of phenomenon can be observed. First is when primary electrons come and hit the surface, secondary electrons are emitted by the surface of the specimen itself. These secondary electrons are detected by the detector, which is situated near the sample, and based on the detection of the secondary electrons generated, the image is generated on the CRT screen, which is situated here. Basically, electrons will pass through the objective lens, hit the sample, and secondary electrons are impinged on the detector. When we have clear surface, the more amount of electrons are impinged, more number of secondary electrons are generated from the surface. Those are detected by the detector. CRT screen, on the CRT screen we can generate a clear image of that. So whenever an intricate or depth surface is there, their electrons emission will be limited. When the primary electrons get hit the component or the surface of the specimen, secondary electrons generated will be less. Those will produce a darker image, where higher amount of electrons, when they are getting reflected, will generate a light image. So based on that dark and light image generation, we can produce a particular sample image where we want to magnify the component. In scanning electron microscopy, we generally have only single image where white and black white and black colors are used. This scanning electron microscope cannot produce the colored images as we can see in the optical microscope. So apart from secondary electrons, this can also generate other electrons. Second one is backscattered electrons, which we have discussed, and third one is characteristic X-rays. So these are the three phenomenons of generation of an image in scanning electron microscopy. Okay. Now we will see an animated image of scanning electron microscope, where the emission of primary rays, primary electrons, and reflection of secondary electrons and backscattered electrons, as well as X-rays generated from the process, can be seen in the form of animation. This is actual image of the equipment of scanning electron microscope. We can see here an animated image where electron gun is used to emit the electrons. These are primary electrons which will pass through the anode and the magnifying lens. And then on the surface of the specimen, we have secondary electron detector, which is getting highlighted here. And next detector is energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy detector, where X-rays are detected. So primary electron is emitted from the gun itself, secondary electron emitted from the sample. So here we can see the top view, how electrons are being generated. This is the sample surface, how the electrons are getting hit. So primary electrons will hit on the surface, generating secondary electrons, which are red in color. For identification purpose, we are showing red in color, but there is no color identification in scanning electron microscopy because it only has black and white. We can see an image being generated on the CRT screen by the secondary electrons. Now backscattered electrons, when the primary electrons again passing through the anode as well as the objective lens will pass through this will hit on the sample, generate will backscatter. Some of the electrons which are of high energy will backscatter. Those are also detected by the scanning coils. That can be seen here itself, which will generate a particular topographical image. Topographical image will be seen, will be used to analyze the depth of the component. Next is energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, where when primary rays are emitted, Here you can see the image being generated by the energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy. When an electron comes and hits another electron of a particular element, that will change its path. Another electron comes and settles to the original position, or tries to settle to its original position. Internally, it emits X-ray that is detected by the X-ray detector, and in turn it generates an image like this. So by this we have reached the end of this class. We will end today's class by scanning electron microscopy. In next class we'll study transmission electron microscopy. Thank you.